All right, and welcome to another webinar with the Utah Veteran Business Resource Center. I'm very excited to have Becky back, and we have some amazing guests. And just want to share with you before we bring them on, Veteran Social 2026 returns virtually on 9 and 10 September, and tickets are now available, free access at 26.veteransocialsummit.com. This is going to be a tremendous event, Becky. We are bringing together 35 very impactful speakers from the veteran community, the military influencer community, and just some thought leaders in this arena. So excited, and thank you very much also to the Utah Veteran Business Resource Center for being one of our sponsors for not only these webinars, but also for the Veteran Social 26.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think this is going to be a powerful year, not just for the Veteran Social, but for those that come and participate. I know that we're seeing the tickets start going for that, and we've got our local conference coming up in May as well for our veteran-owned business conference. And I think we've got some big things coming for veteran businesses this year, military businesses.
Yeah, 100%. Is that on 8 May?
Yeah, it's on the 8th of May.
And where do we go to register for that event?
You can go to our website. It's just on I'll drop it in the chat, but it's utahvbrc.org. And you can click on our events and find the information there. But if you're in Utah on the 8th of May, we'd love to have you come to the conference in Taylorsville, Salt Lake area.
Well, tell us about what are we doing here today? Who are we talking to? I'm really, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I think we already have. But who are we talking to?
Yeah, so we're really excited to bring on Jennifer Powell and Susan Thomas, who are both phenomenal women that everyone should know if you have a product. And we are bringing in we're bringing in Walmart. So we're actually getting ready to host one of their Road to Open calls here in Salt Lake City. We're one of 8 cities. They're going to talk about it a lot better than I can, but we're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to apply for those things, what kinds of things they're looking for, what your questions are. Please bring them up if you have questions and what it takes. It's not that you have to scale to be in every store nationwide. You can scale to be on Walmart.com to sell your products there. So we're going to be joined by Jennifer Powell, who's the manager of market development and sourcing. That's Susan's title. Sorry. Jennifer Powell is a senior manager of public affairs for Walmart. We have Susan Thomas, who's the manager for market development and sourcing. And we're also joined by Jim Herron, who's the director of the Salt Lake Small Business Development Center. They're partnering with us to help bring this Road to Open call to fruition. And we're really excited to see the applications. They've been coming in. Jennifer, welcome. I know we'll be joined shortly by Susan as soon as the firewall decides to agree to participate with her. But I want to welcome both you and Jim here. We'll welcome Susan on, and thank you for taking the time to have this conversation with us today. And Jim, I wanted to ask, because I want to give Jennifer some time to really dive in on everything that she's got coming. But I would love to get your perspective on how you see this impacting Salt Lake in this area. This is the first time we're able to bring Walmart here for this event.
Yeah, I think this will be, a very good opportunity, for our businesses, ones that are ready to jump into this. I think it'll be a very good and very rare opportunity for them. And so we're getting the word out. Hopefully we're getting some applications going in. We'll also be spreading it through our SBDC network in Utah to pick up some of the rural areas that may have businesses that are ready to jump in on this opportunity.
Yeah, it's going to be, hopefully, with the ways that we've been able to be prepared by Walmart, we're able to help business advise some folks on getting them ready for years to come. So Jennifer, we're planning on sending a whole lot of people your way. would love to, Jennifer, open the floor to you and have you give a little bit of background on you. How did you end up where you're at, and what are you guys looking forward to with this Road to Open Call?
Hi, excited to be here. I fill two different roles that are relevant to this conversation. I'm in Walmart Corporate Affairs. I've been with the company for 19 years, and I manage all of our external military work. So that means I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none in that space. I know quite a bit about what everyone is doing across the company as it relates to our military community support. And then I also support our U.S. manufacturing from a reputational standpoint. So I work with Mark Espinoza, who's the one that spearheads the Road to Open Call. And we work with Susan's team when she gets on here. Their team is the one that will actually be talking to the individual entrepreneurs on site at each of the Road to Open Calls. And the Road to Open Call is part of our U.S. manufacturing commitment. We've committed $350 billion to sourcing American-made products. And the Open Call event has been going on for years. And as something that's been happening for such a long time, we started to look for new ways to source people to participate in Open Call. And the Road to Open Call is the way to do that. This is our third year doing it. And we have 7 stops. There were 8. We just had our first one in LA last week. We have one in New Orleans this week. We have one in Dallas in May with the Institute of Veterans and Military Families, so IVMF, who a lot of you are probably also familiar with. Then we have one in Orlando. We have one in Indianapolis. We have one in Atlanta. And I've gone blank. Let me pull up my list.
Baltimore.
And I can just... Oh, Baltimore. So the entire list is Los Angeles, New Orleans, Dallas, Orlando, Baltimore, Indianapolis, Salt Lake City, and then Atlanta. Oh, there's Susan.
Yeah, welcome, Susan.
And at each of those stops will be hosted by a specific organization, but any entrepreneur from that city or from wherever that's close to there is encouraged to apply. And in their 30-minute pitch meeting, they'll pitch their product, and then someone like Susan will be sitting in that meeting and they'll react to that pitch. And everyone obviously wants the fast pass, which means that you are automatically qualified to go to Open Call. But I think the real beneficial part of those meetings is the reaction. And Susan, do you want to talk a little bit more about the actual pitch meeting, because your team is the one that actually will provide the feedback, so you can kind of talk through what you're looking for and what you'll be willing and able to talk about post pitch.
Yeah. So we are a team of 4. We are supplier discovery and development for Walmart. Each one of us covers an area of the company, whether it's food or consumables or our GM group. And then we have a director who kind of oversees all of us and kind of backs up the food business, because it is our largest business, especially here in the United States. We look for a lot of things when we're going into these meetings. We look for, first and foremost, a supplier who's ready, who's scaled, who's got their stuff going in the right direction. They've already, had some experience possibly with retail, but possibly just have been online. We're looking for suppliers that are wanting to scale and grow. All of our suppliers, we want to grow. While you may only come in a small group of stores, we definitely want to see you grow as a component of your relationship with Walmart. And then we also are looking for certain things, certain categories that are strategic in our overall scope of what we're looking for Made in the United States. As you might already know, more than 90% of what we eat, food, is already sourced from the United States. But that falls off drastically as we head toward the consumables groups being our health and wellness, our pets, our babies, Our paper goods, those type of items. Paper goods are made in the United States, but the majority of that other stuff is still made overseas, and so we're trying to bring that back to the United States. And then anything in the GM division, which is all of our hard lines, hardware, apparel, and those kind of products. And so we're always excited about meeting suppliers who are in those unique spaces and unique categories. Having just come off of LA with our first event, we got to see a broad spectrum of suppliers in that space across all categories, food, GM, and in consumables. And we gave 6 fast passes out of that, 2 of which were in the pet category, which is where we see possibly the largest growth, at least in the area I cover, which are the consumables divisions. There aren't any magic like words or things or sauce to getting the fast pass. It's more about the relationship that we see the potential for in the future, and those kind of things, more than we are looking for someone who's got X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you'll get questions from Ryan, from Jim, from myself, and we'll just kind of talk through things. Or if you guys have questions you want us to answer, one of the things I want to talk about, because this is a really important piece of this road to open call, and Jennifer and Susan, you guys can tag team it if you'd like. When you're talking about the U.S., made in U.S., assembled in U.S., like talk about that delineation for the types of products that you're looking for, so we can clarify that for everybody that's listening in.
So actually, it's not anything that Walmart mandates or regulates. It's actually an FTC guidelines. So a lot of times what we end up sending suppliers to is to ftc.gov. And basically the requirements for being made in the USA or being labeled made in the USA are on the FTC website. And we abide by those rules here at Walmart on our regulations. There's some tricky components when you start talking about like assembled in the United States, components made in the United States, or components made overseas. And so we would like to leave those things to basically a standard set of rules, as opposed to trying to come in and trying to introduce those in and of ourselves.
Yeah, but and that is the types of products that you're looking for this road to open call, though, is these made,
grown, yeah. Made, grown, or assembled in the United States. We did have 2 suppliers that trickled into our last event that were not fully made in the United States. And it's difficult for suppliers because they may be a US based supplier and they import that, assemble it to some extent. But the product has to meet those FTC guidelines and needs to be made, grown, or assembled here in the United States.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good clarification to make, so that people understand like what they're looking for. The whole reason when I first talked with Jim about, working with the SBDC and bringing you all here after Mark said, hey, would you guys be willing to host? We wanted to make sure we understood that so that we could business advise people in the right way. So the right expectation is set on that day for those businesses that are applying for working with you all. So I want to shift. Yeah, I think that's great. And then I want to just make sure we're covering all the bases of what you want. And then Jim, if you have a question you want to throw out there, I'll toss it to you. If from the business advising standpoint, like what should we be doing to help people get prepared for that? But Jennifer and Susan, I want to give you a few more minutes to kind of talk through how you're hoping these events are going, and what do you kind of expect to see as you're doing these road to open calls?
I think that everyone's always interested in like, what do you have to have? And there is a list of things when we're looking at people that Susan and team have kind of given us. Like, if you're like, to be successful, your business has to have a federal tax ID, a Dun and Bradstreet number. You have to have, and there's you have to have like a barcode. An EDI number. There it is. I knew I had that one written down. So there's a couple of things, and maybe Susan has more, but there are some success metrics or things that you need to be successful if you're interested in working with Walmart.
Yeah, and hopefully we've got those lined out on our applications. We've seen those from the suppliers, which You have to be shelf ready. So your product has to be ready to go on shelf or go into a DC. This event is for consideration in those two spaces. So you have to have shelf ready packaging, and then you need to have a G10 or a UPC code on the back of your package that allows the item to be individually sold. You need to be, of course, made in the United States. You need to have a tax ID and Dun Bradstreet. I'm walking through 2 suppliers right now who have changed their addresses and thus changed their tax documents in the last year. Do not advise suppliers to have done that within a time frame when they're trying to onboard at Walmart. We now are in a 6-month waiting period with one of these suppliers until all of their documentation is updated. They cannot move forward because that does not align. And that is because we can't pay them because the tax documentation doesn't align. So it's for the supplier's benefit. It just feels very, very difficult. You don't have to have EDI in place, but it is beneficial to have at least looked at EDI, electronic data interface companies, and to make sure you understand the scope of what's involved in having EDI. And you want to make sure that you've at least gone and visited some Walmarts and looked at the product in your category to understand where your product will live in the store. I think one of the first questions I always ask suppliers, if there's any kind of question about their product, is where do you see this supplier living in our stores? And so, and if the supplier can't tell me where they think that product's going to live in the stores, I'm very reluctant to consider moving forward with them, because it's really got to be understood where they believe that product lives. Some suppliers have the benefit of having that historically. They've already had this product priced. This is where it lives, in an X supplier, X retailer. But it's very common for you to come into our stores and for a product to not live in the same place as it does in other retailers. So probably want to understand where that product lives in our stores and how it can resonate. The other thing is we do take quite a few suppliers into our DCs and fulfill that product online only. And there are some categories that is just the better place for that product to live. And I think sometimes that's hard for suppliers to understand, but there are suppliers that come in with a very tailored plan for their product to live in our DCs and for us to fulfill that product to the customer. A lot of those products would be those higher end luxury products. Like I had a lady who makes bags here in the United States. We could sell the product, but we will most likely keep that in a DC and fulfill out of a DC. Also, a lot of certain types of sports tapes, certain types of very specific, sporting equipment or hardline equipment. So some of the wallpapers or wall finishes, those products would probably live in our DC because store space is limited. But we have a place for that product in the DCs. The merchants just need to see the vision for it and put it into those places. But we hear more and more from our merchants, I want to bring this product in. I want to bring it into the DC. This is where I believe this product should live. So I really want to have an understanding from those suppliers as they are looking at their product, that they understand where it's got to live at Walmart. Yes, we have 145,000 products in a standard Walmart, but we really don't have anything in a Walmart. We're not a Dick's Sporting Goods, we're not Lowe's or a Home Depot, yet we have components of businesses in our stores.
So once someone decides this is something they want to do, they want to go to the open call, what is really the process? If you could walk me through the application process, what does that look like? And then once they're selected, what does that look like?
So this is a two-step process. So Road to Open Call, you'll complete the online application that we have for Road to Open Call for the event that you want to attend. And there is a possibility that you may not be accepted to your first. So always look at a backup location if you can. We've had suppliers who, one event was stacked with 35 excellent suppliers who've scaled and grown. And so we've, not accepted them at that event, but the next event they applied to, we were able to get them in. And so you'll apply, you'll come talk with us at Road to Open Call. We'll have a preliminary meeting with you. And if we like the product and see the possibility for it, we will give you what's called a fast pass. And that gives you an immediate guaranteed meeting in October with one of our merchants here at the home office. And then if you get that, you actually still need to go and apply to Open Call, which will open, those applications open June 26th. So your event, I believe, is our second to last event. So we'll be really close to the timing of when they will so it'll be like 10 days, they turn around and they apply to Open Call. What we tell most of our FastPass suppliers is as soon as they get the FastPass to go set up their profile on RangeMe or ECRM, which is a third-party site that we use to take in applications. And then they can set up a free account there. They can set up at least 3 items there for free. And so if they have an assortment of products they want to submit, if they have, for instance, a body care, a body wash, a shampoo, and a conditioner, but they have multiple iterations of shampoo, conditioner, and, body wash, just put one of each. It's understood that if you are submitting an item, a conditioner, you have multiple conditioners, you can submit, you can show the entire conditioner line. So don't go in and think, oh, I just need to show my conditioner. No, show that you have the capabilities for each one of those things. And if you have full assortments that break out from those, that's understood that you can present those items at Open Call. And you list those items on that site into basically what will be our event. And so there'll be a link there unique for Walmart Open Call. And then our FastPass suppliers immediately know that they're just going to get set up for a meeting. We do follow up. We make sure all of our FastPass suppliers have gotten their applications in, have gotten all their stuff set up. And then we're on the backside making sure diligently that they're set up for all their meetings. And then we also do all the prep, help them do all the prep for whatever meetings kind of from those events as our commitment to Road to Open Call. But we also, I told at least 6 other suppliers while I was at this LA event. I gave 2 fast passes, and then I met with 9 other suppliers. Actually, I had one more than everybody else. I told all 9 of them to apply to Open Call because we never know what's going to happen between now and then. Suppliers, they scale in that time. We've had suppliers that came and we just didn't feel like they were quite ready. And over the time between now and when we get to the application process in June, they've gotten their ducks in a row. So apply to Open Call. We've met you. We know what you are working on. We know your story. And so it makes it more likely that we're going to go ahead and consider you to be put in front of the merchant to be considered for a meeting. We put only 10 suppliers in front of each one of these merchants, and they have the opportunity to say yes or no. There's very limited scope on why they can say no, most of which has to do with they've already met with that supplier in the last 12 months. And that's something that they're very kind of, picky about. This is about building new relationships. And then the other one is they're just not the correct merchant. So it's really only one opportunity for them to say, no, I've met with the supplier previously. But then they do have to eliminate. So there are occasions, especially in our high volume application categories, where the merchant has to go through and say, these are the 10 that I want to meet with. They meet the best criteria of what I'm looking for within the category and within my strategy. And if you think about it, those would be the categories like coffee. Our coffee merchant gets anywhere from 50 to 80 applications every single year. Our hot sauce and condiment salsa supplier, our merchant gets anywhere from 50 to 100. Our gadget merchant gets about the same. And so they have to we try to limit it down on our parameters, but then there's times where we're just like, man, these are 15 great suppliers, and we just give them to the merchants and they're like, these 10 align best to my strategy and what I have going forward in the next year. And so they pick from those suppliers.
Yeah.
We then turn around, send out the notification the first week of September to say, hey, you've been accepted, or no, you've been declined this year. And so that suppliers have at least a month to book all their travel and get their hotels booked and all that kind of stuff to be here for the event in October. And then we also do a series of webinars, which we had a meeting planning for those this morning, where you can have a chance to learn what Walmart Open Call is all about. You can learn how to prep for your meeting. We give you a little bit of education introduction, so everybody has the opportunity to go in and start setting up early as a supplier, what we call becoming agreement ready, which most of our fast pass suppliers, we encourage them to become agreement ready as well, because that allows the merchant the day of the meeting to say, I can extend you a contract now and we can start moving this ship forward faster. So we do a lot of different timelines. Our fast pass suppliers get a wealth of communication from us, and then they get a lot of individual follow-up from our team specifically. The agreement is that if we fast pass them, we believe that they're going to go, we're going to be the one who are going to be their liaison through the process.
Thank you, Susan. That's amazing. The process that has been laid out there, and you guys have done this for a little while. So you've really nailed down how to get it to work really well. Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to shift. I have a question for Jim that I would love to have him. We've been looking at it. You guys have trained us on a couple of things and kind of walk through on training the trainers, so to speak. Jim, from your perspective, how beneficial is it for someone to tap into their local small business development center, or somebody like a VBOC that they may not have a VBRC locally, to help them prepare for pitching their business to Road to Open Call? What's the benefit that they could gain from working with a small business development center?
I think a lot of it is that we've done this kind of thing in preparing for other presentations that a company may give, like in front of bankers or investors or other businesses where they may be a potential supplier. Well, I did have a question for you. Is it when the businesses come and are presenting to you, what do you see to be the most deficiencies in the presentations and their preparation? What could we do to help them with that?
I would say know their story, why of the product, know why the product is going to be an item that the suppliers or the merchant's going to want to put onto the shelf. We always tell people, for your product to go on the shelf, something else has to come off. And so if it's a Me Too item, it really needs to be a resonating reason why it needs to be on the shelf in addition to, or it's really truly filling a white space, something we don't have in our stores currently. I would tell them to really focus in on those things. I think understanding what their growth in their manufacturing looks like. So merchants really like it when a supplier has already got a plan for what the next few years looks like. So right now, we're working on a barbecue sauce, but we have a thought process for a condiment line or something else further down the line. So they can kind of see the vision and the scope of what, the supplier has in mind, that they have a plan to be in business and grow. And then make sure that they really understand their social and how they're developing their social. I know that kind of sounds a little bit different, but how are the customers going to know that they can go now find it at Walmart? We launch hundreds of thousands of products in a given year between .com and the stores. And so how are the customers going to know how to find the product at Walmart? So what's your social plan, marketing plan for, letting customers know that they can now go find it at Walmart?
Fantastic. Okay.
And and Susan, I listen more to the feedback that I hear other people say over and over again, like what they did right and wrong. And I think one of the biggest things is know how many stores you can go in, know what your capacity is, because the ones that I've heard be successful, one of the ones that I'm working with this year, they're like, I just want this state, only this state. That's where I want to start. I know I have an audience there and I know I'm capable of producing the product. So go in and be honest. You can get 40 or 400 or 4,000 stores, But if you're really transparent and you understand what your capabilities are and you go in with that in mind, you know, that the merchants seem to be more willing to work with you, and you don't end up, the phrase I was gonna say wasn't work appropriate. You don't end up with putting the cart before the horse. There we go. Sorry, I had my mind went blank. I could only think of the one I couldn't say.
You could say it. We won't hold it against you.
No, that's a really good point. You know, because that's the whole reason why we wanted to do this webinar, so that we could really set the expectation for people, really, and have them know what to expect when they show up, because it's so hard when I'm sure you guys have seen it multiple times where someone shows up and they think they're ready to scale, but they're not, or they overextend their capacity and then they can't keep up with it. I used to work in manufacturing in a facility where we did cut and sew manufacturing. And so knowing what your capabilities are and what your constraints are really important for that, and being really honest with yourself about it. Like, you can tell whatever story you want to everybody else around you, but you have to understand yourself, like where your constraints are and where that lies. So what I'm going to shift a little bit, and I would love to hear some of your favorite success tips that you've heard others that have gone through this process might share to others that are getting ready to start this journey. What have been some of your favorite tips that you would maybe throw out there that people don't think about at this point?
Launch on Walmart.com if you can. Have some at least, a few months worth of selling history there, where you have basically been able to see how the Walmart customer responds. Having that understanding of Walmart and its customers is really, it can't be interchanged with information about, any other customer in any other space. You may understand your customer, and that is one perspective, and that's important. But understanding the Walmart customer and the way that they shop is really. Walmart currently, our shopper penetration, our household penetration is closing in on 75%. So 75% of households shop with Walmart on a given month. We have the opportunity to reach more households. We are still 90% of our stores are, within 10 miles of the customer, so make sure you understand that Walmart customer, and launching on Walmart.com gives you that advantage. I think the other one that surprises people is that they told their story, they told their why, and that really resonated with the merchant. I had a product that I fast passed last year, and it was just such a cool product, but it was just very unique. It was a reusable sandbag. And I was like, I just don't know the price point, but you know what? They own their own manufacturing. They were launching in a bunch of, different retailers. And I was like, I could just see the opportunity. I was like, I don't know if our merchant's going to get it, or if it's going to be something they want to put into the stores, because it's fairly good size, right? And I stood outside his meeting, and he came out, and she golden ticketed him. And I was like, what in the world? And so he walked away to do some pictures, and I said, hey, Demi, I was like, why did you fast pass this supplier? She's like, because he talked about the fact about that households could reuse this product when there were emergencies and they couldn't get to other supplies. She goes, I lived through Hurricane Harvey. And she goes, we could not, when we got to the store to finally be able to get sandbags, they were sold out. And she goes, and so we tried to do everything we could to stop water intrusion into our home, but there were just certain places we couldn't do it. And if you can have these and you can have them in your home, she goes, it will change, the safety for you and for your family. And she goes, and I just don't think that you can, replace that security. And she goes, he just got the right merchant on the right day. And I was like, yes. So it's having that right, mindset going in of, this is why we created this product. This product is important because, and it will just resonate with the merchant. And I think that surprises people sometimes.
And Susan said it earlier, but I've heard so many people that have been successful talk about going into the Walmart stores, understand where you're going to be on the shelves, and not only that, but what markets are right. Like one of our suppliers had a slightly more scale. She researched where the Walmarts, where she thought her price point would work. Like there's not just where you are in the stores, but where in the country are you going to sell well? And like the one company, we want this state, so go walk the stores. Fire department coffee, the first time they interacted with Mark was walking a store in Chicago, and they knew, right? They knew where they wanted to be on the shelves. They knew what the competitors looked like. So don't be afraid to go into a Walmart store and walk around and see where you actually see your product. And understand who else is on the shelves. Because like Susan said, if your product goes on, something else is coming off, unless you've invented something new that we've never heard of before.
Yeah, I know in Utah, we have Black Rifle coffee in our Walmart stores. They're a staple here as well. So it's fun to see those things take place because they're also veteran owned as well. And really, that's something that Jim and I talk a lot with people. And Ryan, you've done this too. When you've done some consulting with people, we talk a lot about you have to understand your customer. But I love the perspective of really understand how your Walmart customer shops and behaves and lives and breathes and all of that stuff. It's very that brings it to mind, like how important that is. And maybe that's something that you want to go spend some time observing, not like a creep, but just spend some time observing.
Well, I think it also helps you to visualize, and put yourself in the right mindset of being there. One thing I kind of said, moving away from this a little bit, but I was also wondering what does it look like the day of open call? What is it going to look like in Salt Lake City? How does that run?
So the kind of the standard run of show, as it were, is everybody gets a 30-minute time slot. We encourage everybody to come a little early. There are always a couple of people with Walmart there who, like, we want to meet all of you. I always want to meet all of the veteran-owned businesses because that's like my other passion. It's nice when things overlap. And you want to not be worried about being late. You don't want to be worried about having to set stuff up. So come early, have your stuff ready to go. You'll go in a room with one of our merchants, or they're in sourcing. You'll do your pitch, 15 minutes. And then the last 15 minutes is for Q&A and feedback. That was the other thing that I was going to say. Yes or no on the road to open call, yes or no at open call. Be sure that you take advantage of the feedback that you're going to get, because we've had people come to the road to open call and not get a fast pass, but use the feedback that they get in those last 15 minutes to shape how their application to open call goes. And they still get they get accepted to open call, and they get a golden ticket there. And we have people who have come through open call and not gotten a golden ticket and taken that feedback and reapplied the next year and then gotten it, the next year or the year later. So we always, like, the important thing, everybody wants to get a fast pass. Everybody wants to get a golden ticket. But if you go into it with a mindset that it's a learning experience, like, regardless of whether I get on Walmart shelves now, I'm going to use this for everything, because Susan and her team have such a great educational package. It's really been built out a ton in the past few years. So you're going to get really good education about working with a large retailer. They're going to help you with the application process. If you come to the road to open call and you either get a fast pass or you apply anyway and you get accepted to open call, that feedback's going to give you, you're going to have an advantage to the people that haven't already had that. And once you talk to the merchant, and you can't, you have to have a thick skin, because maybe your packaging isn't right, maybe your distribution isn't where it needs to be, but all of that can help you next year, the year after that, to be ready. And it obviously can help you with any kind of big box retail that you're interested in getting into. So regardless of whether you get a fast pass, like just use it to grow your business in a positive way. So 30 minutes, we usually do say 15 minutes, kind of have your pitch, and then have the last 15 minutes for Q&A and then feedback. So that's sort of how it looks day of.
Yeah. And just to add a little bit of information to the location piece of it, we do have it in a place where there is a little prep kitchen. You can't bake anything. You can't be, preparing meals in there. But if you do need a little bit of a kitchen space to prepare something to present, we do have space for that as well. We'll need to know about that ahead of time so we can make sure we're scheduling those out so that not everybody's in that kitchen at the same time. But I do want to drive something home that Jennifer said when she says that it's that supporting veterans is a passion of hers. She is not kidding. Like, this is really a passion of hers to really see veteran businesses move forward. And I see a couple of questions in here. When you say maybe your distribution isn't where it should be, can you provide some feedback on what that might look like?
That would be Susan for sure. And her little black square, it looks like she might not. Susan, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I can. Yeah.
I feel like she's on Artemis too.
She's on the other side of the moon.
Y'all
go ahead. Susan. Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
Okay. So if your distribution, and this really kind of connects mostly to the products that need distributors. So if you think about anything that would go into the front end of our store, so like our convenience products, so front coolers, gum, candy, that kind of stuff. The other thing that you would have to have a good distributor network for would be adult beverage. So anything in the adult beverage space, including like mocktails, mixers, that kind of stuff. And then the other one would be like the chips and the soda aisle. You usually need to be working with a distributor. So you want to make sure you have your distribution in place. So you want to be connected to the supplier, the distributors that work with Walmart, just not regular distributors that serve like local restaurants and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And we can, if you have other questions, I will throw my information in there at the end of this, where if you have other questions, we can get some of those questions. But I will drop a link. There's a lot of FAQs that Walmart has received from doing this, and they have a whole page on their website dedicated to these FAQs to help answer some of these questions. So I just dropped that in the comment section. And then Lisa asked the question, should we still apply on Walmart.com if we don't get a pass? And what Susan had said earlier is you should, if you can, get on Walmart.com now and see if you and start getting some sales history there, customer service history there. That tells Walmart a lot about your company and how you interact with your customers, as well as you learning about how your customers behave in purchasing. I don't know, Jennifer or Susan, if you want to add anything to that question.
No, you're
Is that
absolutely
true?
right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Susan.
No, absolutely. You should set up on Walmart.com if you have a product that can be fulfilled through Walmart.com. We understand fresh and some of those products can't. But yes, if you have a product that can sell on Walmart.com, you should absolutely set up on Walmart.com. The more traction you have there, the more likely it is that the merchant's already going to take note of you, and you may not need to come through an event like Walmart Open Call. But yeah, Walmart.com gives you that visibility into the category that you will be pitching into anyway.
Okay, awesome. And then there's Timothy has a question. He's already in Shields, which is a local store here. I guess they have them in other states as well. But does Walmart require a distributor for like card games or games that are in your other sections other than food?
No, come through our regional distribution center. Shields being a sporting goods store. Yes, we've got a lot of suppliers that come through us through the Shields channel. So no, if you're already working with a trucking company that can pick up and deliver to Shields, you will be able to work with our distributors.
Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, Timothy. It's a great question. So I want to see if Jim, did you have another question that you wanted to ask?
I did not. I'm enjoying the answers to the questions that are on here and writing furiously.
Yeah, these are really good questions that that we love to have. Jennifer, from your perspective, what's the biggest question that you normally get that you think that would be great to answer right now for some of these folks that are listening here?
Susan gets all of the technical questions. I get more of the fun questions, which is like, what's it like when you come to open a call? And it's the most amazing day at Walmart. We have a lot of amazing days at the Walmart home office. We really do. Open call is the best day. And then I think people are really interested in the timetable of what happens. Like if I get a golden ticket at open call, how long will it take me to get my products on shelves? And Susan can probably give a much more detailed answer, but that's always complicated, right? Because people plan out their SKUs years in advance, and there's all these different things. So we have some people that come through open call and they get on shelves in a couple of months. And then we have people that it takes a year because they're of where they are in the store, or they're adjusting their package. But that's one of the things that I get asked the most is, what kind of timetable are we looking at? And it depends on what your product is. It depends on whether you're already ready to go on shelves. One of the companies that I work with a lot, Susan and I actually both work with them a lot. Ugly company, they made some packaging adjustments so that they could sell in Sam's Club. So, it took them a long time. But I think timetable is one of the biggest questions. Like, it's the most generic in general of questions. And the answer is, it depends on what your product is, how ready you are, and where you are in the store.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it's fun to hear. It's fun to hear how that day is going to play out. I know we're actually going to have Ryan here on site with us. We're going to do some interviews with some of those folks. So if you're there for the open call, you'll get to do a little bit of one of these sessions with us for our live webinar that day, if you're willing to. And it'll be fun to promote all the businesses that get to come through that day.
We also always bring a content creator with us. So yeah, there'll be more than one person walking around with a camera that day, if you're interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's really fun. So we're really thrilled to have you guys coming here. And do you have any questions for, like, let's reverse this for just a minute, Jennifer, Susan, do you have any questions for some of the folks listening? Like, what are the biggest questions you would have for somebody that's looking to get there to work with you?
I always say, are you ready? I always ask, are you really ready? And everybody, the best thing, and Jennifer knows this too, about dealing with entrepreneurs is they're always ready. And I think our veteran entrepreneurs are even more so, which is why Jen and I both tend to favor our veteran entrepreneurs. They will never ask for help, and they will, they're always ready to go. So I would say, are you ready? And then, are you willing to ask us for help? Be willing to ask, because the worst thing that can happen is you don't ask and then you don't get that information that you need to have a successful meeting, or to have a successful open call, or to have a successful product launch. Ask for help. And, we're here to be a resource for those things. If you fast pass, we're even more so a resource for you. If you golden ticket, then, I'm pretty much your white glove service through this process. And so, ask for help and don't be ashamed of it. We want to help you guys succeed and find that place for your product. So no, I would say I'm excited. This will be our first time in Salt Lake. The other opportunity that, we'll kind of give you a little bit of hint toward is that we may have some additional people with us coming to visit because we'll be in town for another event at the same time. And people are like, oh, I want to see a Road to Open Call. I hear it's super fun. And so I may roll in with a couple additional people. So just be prepared. There might be a lot of people who want to talk and get to know you.
Yeah, which is exciting. Like the more people that know about your business, the better off it is, That's fantastic.
It's a great opportunity for sure.
Yeah. Thank you both for taking the time. And Jim, thank you for being on here as well. I want to throw out there really quick, like Jim and I have tag teamed up to support all entrepreneurs that are ready to do this, all businesses that are ready to scale, get their products in Walmart. We're ready to help and support you. In Utah alone, we have 13 SBDCs that are also ready to help and support. You have the Veteran Business Resource Center that covers Utah for the veteran side of things. And then we also have a Veteran Business Outreach Center, or VBOC, that's regional, that covers, because this isn't just limited to Utah, just FYI. We have a region approach with Montana and Wyoming. We've actually seen some applications start rolling in from other states as well. Obviously, we would love to see a lot of Utah businesses get in there. But Jim and I have been doing this a little while, and we would love to see if we can send a lot of businesses. So if you don't know if you're ready this year, come meet with us, come sit down, set up an appointment. Jim, tell them how expensive we are to work with.
Well, you don't have to mortgage your house. We don't charge anything. In fact, it's against the law for us to charge anything.
Right.
Free 99.
Free 99. Yes. The expertise that's there, there's multiple business advisors. They all have different strengths. We have someone on our team and Jim's very great at this. He's a recovering CFO is how he says it. But we've got a lot of people with a lot of different expertise and knowledge base that we can pull from to get you ready. So if you're not ready this year, let's get you ready for next year. And if it doesn't come to Utah, which I hope it does, next year, we'll get you ready for wherever it's coming so we can get the Road to Open Call going everywhere. But thank you both for being on here, Susan and Jennifer. Thank you, Jim, for sharing your expertise as well. Ryan, did you have any last minute questions or any follow-up you want to share?
No, I'm just blown away. I wish I had a product to go the Road to the Open Call. This is just fantastic information. I'm glad that our veteran community gets to have this opportunity to potentially get into Walmart.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to share, and I've heard Mark Espinoza say this. Jennifer, you mentioned him. And I spent some time talking to some of these other veterans who are working with you, because I met a few of them at the Veteran Edge conference with IVMF, who is a strong partner of ours as well. As I talked with some veterans that are in the process or going through the process or have got their product in there, they had high regard for how Walmart treated them, high regard for how their products have been handled, high regard for getting, the process of understanding. Once they understood the process of what it takes to be in there and move forward, Walmart has stepped up in a big way to help people keep their products on their shelves if they need it. So when Susan says ask for help, like, she's not kidding. They will help you keep your business moving forward if that's your goal, to continue it with your product on their shelves. And we don't do this alone on our own. Like, we have a lot of supporters. We work, Jim and I are both supported by the SBA, the Small Business Administration. We're housed here at the Salt Lake Community College. We work really hard to help entrepreneurs throughout the state of Utah. And we're funded through the Utah Department of Veterans and Military Affairs and the state of Utah to continue this work that we do. So come take advantage of what we got. We've got a lot of help and support. I can't sing that song enough. Like, just my number one rule is, if you don't suffer in silence. If you need something, say something, because we've probably got someone that can help you solve your problem. there's my soapbox. I'm done.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful advice. And I love the pro tip, ask for help. And you never know, like one conversation can open up so many different doors. I always tell everybody that I'm coaching or mentoring, I may not have the answer, but I may know someone that knows the answer. So for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to give Jennifer and Susan the last line. Like, what's the last word you guys want to leave everybody with? And thank you to Walmart for being willing to spend some time with us today for this webinar. I'm going to
Oh, and wait, Jennifer needs to tell us about her flare too. How many pieces of flare is she wearing? You knew that was coming. Come on, Jennifer. You knew that was coming at some point.
Not 27. I have more than 27.
That's great. I love it.
I actually would have said probably what you said. I think people have a perception of what it's like to work with Walmart, and I'm not going to tell you that that's not some people's experience. But when you come in through open call, or you have a veteran-owned business, or there is a little bit more support than a lot of people would anticipate. I can tell you the first names of all the veteran entrepreneurs that I've worked with in the past. I know their families, like all of that stuff. I think don't discount it just because it's big box. Give us a chance and see what it's like. And it's not for everybody, and it doesn't hurt our feelings, right? If it doesn't work out or it's not right for you, but don't just discount it based on perception alone, because it's a little bit more than that, and we really do care about success of our both our veteran-owned businesses and our American entrepreneurs. So
yeah, and we do have an offer from Patrice Williams in the comments that she is a 3PL. So if you need a 3PL, she's available to talk. I just threw my email in the chat, but I'd love to connect with you too as well, Patrice. But Susan, I'm going to give you time to say your last final words. Well, not your final words, but on the webinar.
Nothing more to say. We've said a lot, and there's a lot to ingest there, and more to come. So take it as it comes. If you have questions, we'll be there to answer them. And we're just looking forward to coming to Utah and getting to meet with a bunch of really great businesses.
Yeah. Jim, anything you want to share? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, just seek out help wherever you can. There's a lot of wonderful service out there to provide you assistance and no cost, and just let us be partners with you. We're happy to help you.
Yeah, I just dropped the SBDC for Utah in the chat. If you need your local SBDC or you need to find one, you can find it from the SBA's site. And then I'll drop our Veteran Business Outreach Center, if I can type and talk at the same time, that'd be cool, website as well. So happy to chat anytime. Ryan, why don't you talk about Veteran Social Summit coming up in September, and then we'll kick it.
Yeah, I guess
we'll back to you all for your day.
Yeah, we'll end where we started, and we'll talk a little bit about Veteran Social Summit, which is a virtual conference coming up 9 and 10 September virtually everywhere there's internet. Guess what, Becky? It's free 99. So head over to 26.veteransocialsummit.com. This year is very special. We're going to have 2 tracks within Vet Social. The first track is for entrepreneurs, and the second track is career and hiring fair, powered by Milk Root. This is going to be amazing. Overarching theme, the state of the veteran community. So this is just going to be fantastic. We already have some amazing speakers, including Becky, that will be joining us on the virtual stage on 9 and 10 September. So hurry up, sign up, register, and join us here in less than 5 months. I know that seems a long ways away, but it's never too soon to plan for all these amazing events that are coming up.
Yeah, it's great. I'm excited. We're excited to support and sponsor, and thank you for doing our webinars, Ryan.
Oh, thank
always
you.
a pleasure. Makes
All right.
Chicago a little bit closer to Utah, I guess.
I know for sure.
But yeah, please feel free to connect with each other. That's a big thing for me. I love seeing all the connecting going on in the comments. Please continue to do that. We build a better community when we're all working together. So have a lovely day.
All right. Take care.
See ya.
See ya.